From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President.
Welcome to this special edition of This Week with the President, a weekly news magazine which provides you with an in-depth look at the policies, programs and work of the President of Guyana in his quest to realize the good life for all Guyanese. This week we will focus on the just concluded 37th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, its successes and outcomes. I'm your host, Gomiti Gangadin. In the highlights this week, CARICOM signals solid support for juridical settlement of Venezuela's claims. Guyana New Horizon for Business, President Granger tells CARICOM's heads. CSME and free movement of labor, security, and Chile-CARICOM relationships high on CARICOM's agenda. Guyana and Chile explore areas for cooperation. President Granger to visit later this year. These stories and more on This Week with the President. Do stay with us. As Guyana and the rest of the Caribbean celebrated CARICOM Day, heads of governments from the Caribbean community and their ministers, Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, Baroness Patricia Scotland, and other dignitaries from around the world gathered in Georgetown, Guyana for the opening ceremony of the 37th regular meeting of the Conference of the Heads of Government of the CARICOM, which was held this week under the chairmanship of Prime Minister of Dominica, the Right Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. Though Dominica was the host of this year's meeting, Guyana co-hosted since the island was left devastated after Tropical Storm Erica last year and is still in recovery mode. The opening ceremony was addressed by the Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, Ambassador Aaron LaRocque, and incoming heads of states, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Alain Castanet, the President of Suriname, His Excellency Desi Bouterse, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, long-standing conference member, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, and the Chairman of CARICOM, Prime Minister Skerrit.
Some seeking adventure, some bound in chains, through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love, we dance and we play.
After the opening on Monday, plenary sessions and heads of government caucus commenced on Tuesday. High on the agenda was Guyana's ongoing border controversy with neighboring Venezuela. As a major outcome of deliberations on this matter, CARICOM acknowledged that this is not just a Guyana problem, since a number of other states are also affected by Venezuela's stance. Recognizing that Guyana was not alone in the controversy, Suriname President His Excellency Bouterse sought a meeting with President David Granger on the sidelines of the heads of government meeting to explore how they can work together to ensure peaceful resolution to the matter. President Bouterse, in an invited comment after the meeting, said that Suriname would like to see the heads working together to address the matter for the benefit of all involved.
A lot of countries of the Caribbean are affected by this decree. We have sent an official note already, but we didn't have the time to discuss this with the heads. So what we wanted to do is to ask His Excellency Granger if we can put the heads together regarding to this very sensitive matter for a few of our Caribbean sister nations, and especially for Suriname and Guyana.
CARICOM, recognizing that several of its member states and North Guyana alone are being affected by the decree, discussed the matter at length during their deliberations during the week. In supporting a juridical settlement through the Office of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon seemed to acknowledge in his communique that issued at the close of the heads of government meeting that a resolution would not only serve the interests of Guyana but also CARICOM, as this is a regional issue. It states in the communique that, and I quote, CARICOM signaled their full confidence in the Secretary General to exercise urgently his authority under the 1966 Geneva Agreement for a choice of options that would bring the controversy to a definite and judicious conclusion that would be beneficial not only to Guyana but the Caribbean community as a whole. End of quote. President David Granger, in the closing press conference, said,
CARICOM gave its support to Guyana's demand that the matter be settled peacefully through a juridical process initiated, of course, by a decision by the United Nations Secretary General. So that's where we stand. The community stands united behind Guyana, and Guyana is calling for a juridical settlement, and the United Nations Secretary General is the person to make a decision which will lead to that settlement. So we hope that by the time the United Nations Secretary General admits office at the end of this year, we would have had information confirming that we are going to go to court to settle this long-standing dispute, something that has affected us the last 50 years.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Mr. Carl Greenwich, who was also present at the meeting between the Guyana and Suriname heads of states, sat down with us and explained that it was Guyana at the 2015 heads of government meeting that brought it to the attention of the CARICOM leaders that Venezuela's claim was not just a Guyana problem. He noted that it was at that time that Suriname indicated that it had already written to Venezuela on the matter of their sea space, which was included in Decree 1859.
The heads recognized that the problem was not a Guyana Venezuela problem. Venezuela is laying claim to maritime territories, maritime space of many Caribbean countries, including Suriname, including an area that had already been arbitrated by the UN Law of the Sea Convention, including also areas that had hitherto not been the subject of any dispute. And whilst they claim that the 1899 Convention, the 1899 arbitral award was null and void, they're still occupying areas given under the 1899. The Caribbean recognizes that.
CARICOM is not the only group that has thrown its support behind Guyana on this matter. Over the months since the decree was issued, organizations such as the Commonwealth and countries such as the United Kingdom and the United States have been adding their voices to the cause. In the meantime, however, President Granger is hoping that Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, would grant Guyana's wishes for a juridical settlement before he demits office later this year. Guyana, he says, has suffered long enough and cannot deal with another 50 years of constant harassment and claims to its territory. Guyana is a beautiful, bountiful country. boasting natural waterfalls and other wonders, exotic animals, and rich mineral wealth. Since his assumption to office, President David Granger has extolled the richness of our culture and our natural patrimony. This patrimony takes the form of agricultural potential, flora, fauna, bauxite, gold and diamonds, and pristine landscapes, perfect for ecotourism. However, he has acknowledged the need for investment so that every Guyanese can benefit from the good life. In keeping with his administration's thrust to advance the economy, President David Granger has invited the other heads of government of the Caribbean community to encourage their business communities to see Guyana as a new horizon for development, especially in the areas of agriculture and tourism. As Guyana moves to develop its oil and gas sector with the significant petroleum discovery by ExxonMobil, the president added that as a mature nation, Guyana is looking to properly manage its resources to ensure a bright future for all Guyanese.
I told the heads today that Guyana and Suriname together are bigger than Germany. So they must regard these two large CARICOM states as being part of the hinterland of the Caribbean. And we are open for business, we are open for investment, we are open for development, and we are all part of one community. So Guyana's land space, Suriname's land space, and our resources, petroleum, gold, diamonds, bauxite, are all part of the Caribbean patrimony. We want to see us develop together.
With the potential of a booming oil and gas sector on the horizon, the head of state reiterated his stance that Guyana is open for business, not just from international investors, but also from members of CARICOM and the wider Caribbean.
The states of the Caribbean, particularly Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, have well-developed business communities. And tomorrow I'll be going into hinterland of one of the CARICOM prime ministers to show them the possibilities. For example, we go in the Rupununi region is bigger than Costa Rica. So I'm sure that they're interested. I'm sure that they'll be able to take a message back to their countrymen in the business sector to see Guyana and Suriname as well as a new horizon for development in agriculture and tourism. We've got the best ecotourism product on the continent. So I expect that in years to come, we'll be seeing a lot of development with our Caribbean colleagues.
The head of state reiterated that Guyana has great potential, and he expects that investors would be eager to exploit sustainably its natural patrimony. It is with this in mind that the President and Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Frondel Stewart, ventured to Santa Fe Mega Farms in the South Rupununi to explore investment potential in that region. So much so that all of the major economic sectors are driven by foreign direct investments. The Santa Fe Mega Farm, located in the North Rupununi, Upper Takatu, Upper Essequibo Region 9, is just one of the many successful foreign business ventures. This thriving agricultural business venture is a major investment by prominent Barbadian mogul Sir Kiffin Simpson in Guyana's agricultural sector. President Granger and Prime Minister Stewart took a closer look at operations at that facility.
What is going on here can serve as a model for other investors who must be interested in coming to Guyana to be involved in projects of this kind. I have the minister in the Prime Minister's office here with me, and we've come to see for ourselves because we have a message to take back to Barbados that Guyana is open for business and for investment, and that the project at Santa Fe is as good an example as any to be found of the wisdom of venturing out from Barbados and other parts of the Caribbean and coming here into Guyana and investing. If the Brazilians can do it, if the Chinese can do it, on my way I saw Chinese businesses open, and if they can do it, and they have come, well, the Chinese have come from very distant lands, if they can do it, we here in CARICOM can do it as well.
President Granger said that Santa Fe represents a reaffirmation of the bond between Guyana and the Caribbean, more so Barbados. He said that Guyana has tremendous investment potential, but there are several barriers, such as poor infrastructure, which must be addressed.
We want investment, we want infrastructure. We want people to bring in their, people who have access to capital, to bring their capital and to help to provide employment and develop our resources in this part of the country. We want to see a road between Georgetown and Lethem. We want to see people being free to move. It should not take people 14 hours to come from Georgetown to Lethem every day. And we are going to bridge the Essequibo River, we are going to build this highway. That is a commitment that we are working towards. We have a world-class tourist product, and we expect that with the expertise of places like Barbados, which have got a world-class tourist product, in one other area, sun and sand and sea, we have a world-class tourist product. I want to see entrepreneurs from Barbados combining their product with our product. And we are going to be participants in this Caribbean project of developing our country.
The Santa Fe farm spans a total of 29,000 acres of arable lands in the North Rupununi. Currently, 1,200 acres of land is under rice cultivation, while another 8,000 acres is being prepared.
We look forward to a new attitude to development, a new attitude to welcoming investment, a new attitude to our economy. We have launched what we call a green economy, and we are quite confident that now that the township has been created at Lethem for the first time, democratically elected mayor and council, that Lethem will become a hub for investment, also a hub for administration.
Engineers at the Santa Fe farm have designed an impressive gravity irrigation system, which has ensured that the farm survives the prolonged dry spell that the Rupununi has recently experienced.
Gravity irrigation is gravity. We feed from one level to another with terrace in place. We have to do the topography work before, and it has an inch difference between one levee and another. So you fill one level, then the water will move to the second level, and the third level, and all the way down to the drains.
The rice, when harvested, is processed in 2 huge silos located on the farm itself. This facility was constructed manually, completely without the use of any machines, by 30-odd residents. Rice grown at Santa Fe is exported, while ground provision and other cash crops are sold in Lethem. Guyana has embarked on a green agenda that allows for sustainable use of natural resources while at the same time protecting and preserving the environment. In keeping with this trust, President Granger and Prime Minister Stewart participated in a tree planting exercise at Santa Fe.
I'm a farmer, man. Farmer from Montreal. Yes, of course. Hey.
I'm going to come back to look for it, you know.
Yeah.
Rest assured, we'll take care.
The Prime Minister.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Over the last few months, the President, through Prime Minister Mr. Moses Nagamutu, the Minister of Business Mr. Dominic Gaskin, Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harmon, and other government officials have been engaging, meeting and interacting with members of the diaspora with the hope of encouraging these investments and finding out the conditions and needs which must be considered and met to secure the investment opportunities. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, under the stewardship of the Honorable Carl Greenwich, has been working to ensure that Guyana is projected to the international and regional communities as an investment hub. Minister Greenwich said that the ministry is the interface for Guyana in bringing investments here, and it has always sought to facilitate investors.
What we are trying to do more effectively now is to take up the task of facilitating investors, raising their awareness of what is available in Guyana, making sure that, for example, where businesses may have an interest and have been misled by material they read on Venezuela, or, as is often the case, where you're trying to do South-South cooperation, one of the biggest barriers is the lack of knowledge, lack of information by South investors on what is taking place in the other southern country. That is a big part of Guyana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs task, and more importantly, specifically in the area of trade and markets. Our job is to engage the regional communities, international communities, UN and others.
The minister noted that while the ministry and its diplomats cannot necessarily sell the physical product or broker deals for the products, it ensures that the appropriate framework is negotiated and put in place so that the ministries of business and finance can take over from there.
We are not substitutes for DDL or for the rice industry. We can't, you don't train diplomats to be able to sell rice as such. It is the framework that they negotiate with other territories, bringing in, where appropriate, the sectoral marketers, those who can argue to the different types of rice and the relative advantage of different types of products. So the ministry has an interface to play, both with the the government of the potential markets, in terms of establishing frameworks and opening access, and with our industry, that is to bring them to the table where necessary, pass their material where necessary to those potential markets.
Minister Granger assured that his ministry will continue to work with its ambassadors and other officials to ensure that Guyana's open policy to investors is made throughout the world. Even as some in the region question the level of commitment of the regional heads to the integration process, the 37th regular meeting of the Conference of the Heads of Government of CARICOM wrapped up with a renewed commitment to ensuring that the required structures are in place for the full implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy. This was announced by Chairman of the Conference of the Heads of Government of CARICOM, Prime Minister Skerrit, at the closing press conference on Wednesday night. President David Granger, co-host of the meeting, and CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Aaron Lavrock also participated in that press conference. Prime Minister Skerrit noted that with respect to free movement, among the more significant issues were the addressing of the concerns of citizens in taking advantage of the free movement regime. Guyanese have over the years complained of the treatment meted out to them during their travels to various CARICOM states, while Jamaica is currently working to resolve their issues in that regard with Trinidad and Tobago.
In respect to CSME, the Caribbean Single Market and Economy, we engaged our attention and received an update, and we, the heads, look forward to a comprehensive review which would consider at the intersessional meeting next February. Now, that review is in an effort to take the process forward and not to change any or to revisit any of the actions that we've taken thus far to strengthen the integration process. In the meantime, there will be an intensified public education campaign in member states aimed at all levels of the society. The program will highlight the benefits and provisions of the CSME.
Guyana's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Carl Greenwich, said that Guyana welcomes the discussions and actions agreed to by the CARICOM heads. He noted that while he does not expect things to change overnight, the fact that discussions have begun and are continuing means that the issues are not being ignored and will ultimately be addressed.
Sometimes foreigners with criminal, near criminal, questionable, no regional background to move more easily than those who are born within the region. And there was an airing of those issues. The matter has not been resolved, matter of migration. But I think to the extent that the issues are discussed, it helps and it will eventually help us to reach a more amicable solution.
Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Andrew Holness, during the press conference held earlier in the evening, also spoke on the issue, noting that it is back on the agenda for CARICOM and it must be addressed. He has committed to engaging the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to begin the process of rectifying this, especially for his countrymen. Therefore, the heads of government mandated the CARICOM Secretariat to convene a meeting of chief immigration officers, CARICOM ambassadors, and other relevant officials by 30th September 2016 in order to address the challenges being experienced by the community nationals traveling throughout the region. All member states were also asked to submit statistics annually to the Secretariat on the refusals of entry and the operation of the free movement regimes, and that these statistics must be submitted by the 31st of January of the following year.
We are fully committed to implementing all elements of the CSME regime as we remain convinced it is our only option to achieve sustainable growth and development in the Caribbean region.
In the light of continued threats to the region's security, heads of government agreed on ways to deepen and strengthen cooperation in this area. The community has granted its approval for a review of CARICOM's Crime and Security Strategy, the CCSS, to ensure that there is coordination between national security plans and the strategy, as well as the signing of an arrest warrant treaty which will see perpetrators of crime being arrested in any of the CARICOM states and deported back to their countries to face prosecution.
Significantly, we agreed that urgent steps should be taken for completion of a number of critical regional security agreements. We have placed as a priority on the completion of CARICOM arrest warrant treaty. This is a matter that we've been discussing for some time now, and I believe heads are resolved to having this particular agreement entered into, or treaty rather, entered into before the end of 2016. This, we believe, will enhance the security of our region, and is a matter which heads fully are in support of.
Ghana's security, and even that of the Caribbean region, has always been high on the agenda of the new administration. Given the ongoing threats to its territory, Ghana, through President David Granger, has been consistent in raising its voice for the protection of small states and the importance of regional security for the development of small countries. More recently, Ghana implemented the Operation Dragnet, which has been focusing on the training of the Ghana Police Force. This has also seen reductions in the crime statistics and has resulted in several cold cases being solved, while arrests and prosecutions have been moving at a steady pace. Regional and international cooperation and friendly relations with the countries in the various hemispheres, as well as international organizations, have always been a priority area for President David Granger. With Chile officially opening a permanent mission in Guyana and its president, Her Excellency Michelle Bachelet, attending the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting, this signals the opening of relations with the country and Guyana and the wider Caribbean as a whole. On Tuesday, President Granger met with Her Excellency Michelle Bachelet on the sidelines of the CARICOM conference to discuss matters of mutual interest on the bilateral, regional and international agenda, and his impending trip to Chile later this year to concretize the agreements which have been agreed upon. President David Granger, in an invited comment at the conclusion of the meeting, said that Chile has been a long-standing friend of Guyana and the wider Caribbean region, and that the two countries are now exploring areas in which Chile and Guyana can cooperate. Of particular interest to Guyana is Chile's expertise and experience in maritime administration and their framework for the mining sector.
In terms of our own relations, we know that Chile, particularly the President of Chile, Madame Michelle Bachelet, is committed to poverty reduction, committed to peaceful resolution of conflict. Also, she's committed to reducing the adverse impacts of climate change. As you know, the Caribbean basically is an extensive maritime zone, and Chile has a very long coastline and has much experience. So there are many areas of cooperation. Chile is one of the most successful mining enterprises in the world. It's a major copper producer, and we're looking to build a stronger regulatory framework in our mining sector, particularly gold and diamonds. So there are many areas of cooperation, functional cooperation as well as economic cooperation, and Chile is an ideal partner with the Caribbean in this regard.
The two presidents reviewed the existing bilateral relations between Guyana and Chile and agreed to continue working closely to expand and strengthen collaboration not only at the bilateral level, but also at the regional level within the context of the Union of South American States, UNISOR, Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, Organization of American States, OAS, and the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. In this regard, they agreed to adopt the following decisions: to decide on a mutually convenient date for the visit of His Excellency David Granger to the Republic of Chile in October-November 2016, to finalize negotiations on two bilateral agreements between Guyana and Chile on the occasion of the visit of President Granger to Chile, the Open Skies Air Services Agreement, and the agreement for the abolition of visa requirements for holders of ordinary passports. President Bachelet emphasized the pivotal role Chile plays in responding to the challenges faced by countries in the Caribbean through the promotion of cooperation and technical assistance. The sharing of best practices and experiences with Guyana and other countries of the Caribbean region in areas of common interest are central to the promotion of economic and inclusive social development, she said. Also on the sidelines of the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting, the Government of Guyana, through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Wednesday evening, officially formalized relations with its CARICOM sister state, Belize. Though the two countries have been cooperating and trading for years, there was never a formal agreement in place to facilitate such. The formalization of the relationship was done by the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Minister Granger and the Foreign Affairs Minister of Belize, Mr. Wilfred Arlington. The Memorandum of Cooperation will seek to increase joint initiatives from the private sectors of both countries. The agreement does not specify quotas on imports or exports, neither does it put limitations on products that can be traded between the two countries. This new trade and investment agreement signed between Guyana and Belize could open new areas of funding and marketing for local producers, and the Foreign Affairs Minister of Belize is urging Guyanese to take full advantage of the opportunities which have been presented and will be presented with the new agreement.
This agreement will allow us to enter into formal agreement with respect to trade and investment, and we will cooperate in many areas, including trade, education, agriculture, politics. We will consult. I get a lot of consultation from your Deputy Prime Minister, who is a consummate politician, very knowledgeable, very informed, and very helpful to us.
Minister Greenwich said that the two countries have always had fertile relations, and he is pleased that the relationship has been formalized to provide mutual benefits.
We will do a lot of this work within the aegis of a joint commission. It is a mechanism that we use traditionally. Although we've had long relations with Belize, we haven't really made much use of that mechanism, and on this occasion we have formalized it. The joint commission will be the framework within which ideas are received and in which they processed, and by which we will monitor the implementation to make sure that ideas are not just thrown up and then next year you come back and the same thing is repeated again. And that joint commission will be charged with supervising the execution of this agreement, in particular examining and approving specific projects and reviewing the progress and so forth.
In addition to sharing a good, friendly bilateral relationship, Ghana and Belize have been bonding and exchanging ideas and expertise over the claims to their respective territories. President David Granger and Prime Minister Andrew Holness of Jamaica on Thursday sat down for bilateral talks at the Pegasus Hotel to discuss the strengthening of trade relations in the areas of agriculture, manufacturing and tourism, and deepen cooperation in defense and security. The two heads of states during the meeting identified a number of possible investment and cooperation areas in agriculture, manufacturing and other sectors, and President Granger indicated that he would ask the Minister of Business, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, to follow up in that regard. The 37th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of Caribbean Community sent a resounding message to constituents in the region that the body will have longevity and there will be no exits. CARICOM continues to serve the region even as it deepens the integration movement. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, set the right tone at the opening ceremony when he said that contrary to the level of pessimism that permeates the Caribbean regarding CARICOM, tremendous progress have been made in the integration movement, wherein lies significant strength and possibilities for Caribbean people.
There are things which we still need to do to deepen the integration process. But let us not put on sackcloth and ashes and simply denounce all our immense achievements over the last many years. We have a way of beating up on ourselves too much.
These sentiments echo comments by President David Granger last week during his weekly program, The Public Interest, where he said that CARICOM is important to Ghana strategically, economically and socially. He said that while there has been some degree of slothfulness in the areas of trade and other economic relations, there has been tremendous progress in terms of functional cooperation.
What I think has been the subject of some criticism is the progress on trade and other economic relations. But I would say that CARICOM is useful. Guyana cannot do without CARICOM, and we're looking for the enhancement or the development of the single market and economy. Guyana is the biggest CARICOM state, and we would like to move ahead much more quickly. But I don't think there's any danger that CARICOM will fall apart or will cease to fulfill the functions for which it was established 43 years ago. I think we're on good ground.
While Jamaica has launched a commission to review its relations with the regional body, Prime Minister Holness in his address said that while countries focus individually on their respective national challenges, it is important to engage and develop regional and international strategies so as to achieve economies of scale and collectively address issues that commonly affect the region. With all states in it for the whole as they seek to address their unique challenges and exploit opportunities, CARICOM will continue to strive to be a community that is integrated, inclusive, and resilient, driven by knowledge, excellence, innovation, and productivity. A community where every citizen is secured and has the opportunity to realize his or her potential with guaranteed human rights and social justice, and contributes and shares in its economic, social, and cultural prosperity. A community which is a unified and competitive force in the global arena. That has brought us to the end of this week's edition of This Week with the President. Thank you for joining me. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website at www.motp.gov.gy, like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Do have a safe and blessed week, Guyana. Goodbye.